In his indignation, Mareth had lost track of where he was for a moment. "I'm sorry, Master Gonal, for my wandering attention," he replied. "I was simply aghast at this news about Lord Eden. It's being announced like he's a saviour riding into the city." He knew Gonal was not a fan of Eden. He had already made up his mind on his candidate, and that was where they were heading. So Mareth made sure not to say any positive words about the noble arriving on the morrow, though he did have some respect for Eden's style. He was sure his entrance would be a spectacle. "Oh, yes, I share your distaste for Eden," said the merchant. "It'll be an opportunity lost for the people of our kingdom if the new Lord Protector is one of the establishment. The richest man in Edland, what can he possibly understand about the everyday person? Where would his priorities lie, eh? Well, I'll tell you. War. That's how his family made their treasure, and how he gathered more. Now, war can be good for business, but I don't want my son getting fancy ideas about becoming a knight or another kind of hero. Peace, that's what we need, so our children can focus on making money." It was a little past noon, and the sun was hot on Mareth's face. A boy had delivered him a message that morning to meet the merchant at noon by the fountain in the square of Queen Lynn. They hadn't met the day before, and he'd been concerned his connection had fallen through. Mareth had been gathering himself to search for the merchant when the messenger had arrived, so that had been a blessed and timely relief. But now meeting at a public place, and then walking to the meeting, no carriage, raised alarm bells about Master Gonal. His blonde-bearded friend at the Royal Oak the other night was likely correct in questioning how he was able to vote. He either lived like a miser, or getting the little demon had cost him every penny he owned. But he couldn't fault the fact that he'd followed through on bringing him to the meeting, assuming it materialised. "When we arrive at Hoxteth's mansion, I need you to make sure that I do all the talking," explained Gonal, Mareth nodding along. "I'll introduce you as my bagman, a place of respect, you understand, that will allow you to remain with me during the meeting. There will be some business that needs to be conducted, but you'll get to observe and have your view of the man we hope will be our first protector." Mareth suppressed recoiling at the mention of him being a bagman. He vowed he would never stoop so low in reality. An assistant in commerce? Was there no other title he could be given? But it really didn't matter. How else would he be able to create his chronicle if he couldn't judge the mettle of these men and women? He needed the meeting. They arrived at a stone mansion house, 4 stories high and twice the size of the Royal Oak, leaded windows with a steep sloped slate roof and turrets at each corner. Outside the thick, reinforced front door stood 2 professional-looking guards, clean-shaven, with untarnished chainmail under tabards emblazoned with Hoxteth's sigil of an unbalanced scale. Rumour had it the judiciary was not too pleased with Hoxteth's choice of sigil, their balanced scales referring to justice, his unbalanced ones meaning he got the better end of any deal. Master Gonal introduced himself to the guards and showed them the pixie in his pocket, which blew a raspberry in the guard's face. The entrance routine was successful, to Mareth's immense relief, and they were escorted into a waiting room. 3 other people sat there, whom Mareth pegged as merchants by the hungry looks in their eyes. The 2 of them took seats in the tastefully decorated room. Wood panelling lined the walls, with green velvet couches and individual chairs in clusters about a space that Mareth considered to be nearly as big as his father's great hall. Tapestries of great skill hung from the walls, one depicting a dragon fighting a knight on horseback, another of a broad oak tree with golden apples and children sleeping in its boughs. They sat without talking, silence in the air, with only the sounds of the household to be heard. Every 10 minutes or so, one of the other men waiting was met by an officious-looking steward to escort them into an adjoining room. Mareth found himself tapping his hands on the arms of the chair or his feet on the floor, which would draw unhappy glances from Gonal. "Lord Hoxteth will see you now." The steward had approached without Mareth noticing. He had been working through a particularly troublesome rhyme in a long-time work in progress regarding a giant he'd once met. The steward addressed Master Gonal. Thank you for waiting.